Welcome, everyone, to our interview with Vickie Helm and this most exciting day, Vickie's double book launch. But I, today, Wendi Schenkel, want to talk to you about the book that makes my heart absolutely tingle because I believe, it might be my imagination, that I was the one that inspired Vickie, maybe, to
It's
come out
true.
of the closet about this. So, can we begin? So, we are here today to talk about Vickie's newest book. Well, second newest, because I think maybe I'm 41. Out of
No,
the
you're 40.
we're 40. We're
Yeah.
40. Yay! I wanted to be 40. I was this makes me so excited. Thank you. Thank you. Vickie. So, we are here today to talk about The Secret Joy of You, Vickie Helm's 40th book, which is, to me, her most spectacular piece of work so far. Not to
Thank you.
downplay the others, because they've all come along for the journey. But this, to me, was one that really touched my heart. And I am so excited to talk to her about it today and introduce this book to all of you here on this show. And thank you so much, Vickie, for letting me do this with you.
Well, honestly, the book wouldn't be here without you. So listen, I see everybody coming on. If you want to be part of the conversation, put your name down below and say hi. And I do want to say that this was a significant piece of work for me. And I really want to be so clear with everyone. It takes a village to write a book. And I know that I'm the lucky person that gets to put my name on the bottom of the book. But the village architect is the person sitting right there. This is how this book got out. Good morning and congratulations. Thank you so much. This is exciting times. It is. And yeah, hi, Wendi. Somebody say hi,
I
Wendi.
can't
Thank
see who
you.
it is, but
I can't see who it is.
hello.
Robin, yeah, somebody put the StreamYard thing. I see you guys coming on. Thank you so much for being here. So yeah, you're right. This is significant. This is a piece of work that was brought together by you and me, actually. And I get to put my name on it and just point at her and go, yeah, she did a great job.
Well, Vickie, I don't want to steal your spotlight, but can I just tell a little personal story about how we even met and got here in the first place?
Oh, absolutely. Do it.
Okay, so my entire life, I have always worked with men in sales, in business, in professions, everything. I have been mentored by men, and I had come to a point inside of me that I was like, I have everything I want. Oh, I don't want to cry. I have everything I
You're doing
want,
great.
and I am still so miserable. The cars are in the driveway. The houses are here. My kids have this amazing life, vacation half the year in Florida, half the year in New York. And I'm going, oh my God, all my little girl dreams are all here. And I am so unhappy. What is going on? And I would talk to my friends about it, and they would say, like, oh, you spoiled brat. You have everything you ever wanted. Like, what is wrong with you? Like, I have to do this and I have to do that. And you have a house cleaner and you have a this and like, you bitch. And I was like,
It's almost
oh,
like you don't have the right to be upset.
no. And to me, like, I was turning it back on myself and going, okay, if they're holding a mirror up to me, where is the truth in what they are saying? Because I love my friends and I believe what they say. I invite them to share how they feel with me. And so I sat down one day and so I would talk to my male mentors about this, right? And they're like, grind harder, do more, competition, they're just jealous, don't listen to them, go for it, go for it, go for it. And okay, great feedback, right? If you want to live in a very male dominated culture, it
Competitive.
wasn't working for me. It was ruining me. I couldn't sleep. I'm taking medicine for an ulcer. Like, it was driving me crazy. So I desperately one day logged into Facebook, into a group of other business people that we're together with. And I just said, I think after reflecting about this, I really need to sit down and get the perspective of a woman. I need a woman mentor in my life. I cannot be what I cannot see, and I can't see her and who I want to be. And Vickie reached out to me in a private message and she's like, girl, we got to talk. And so I'm sorry to get so emotional about it, but I'm going back to that
Well,
day,
thank
and it
you.
was such a sickening day. And for me to like, some of the guy mentors that I was working with were like, "Oh, you flipped the bird at us. Like, oh, is that how you're going to be now? You're going to go join all the like those women, And it was like kind of a struggle. So, Vickie, I am so eternally grateful to you because you sat down with me and you let me cry my eyes out and you let me just be me. You listened to every dirty detail. I felt safe with you, and it was so freeing. And Vickie, I don't know how it turned into a book, but I would just love to get started. Like, why did you write this book? Like, because I still like think about that. Like, how did those conversations turn
Turn
into
into that
you
book.
wanting to turn this into such a heavy piece of work? This is not a booklet. This is a book.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you for letting me share that, Vickie. Sorry. Thank you.
Well, it's interesting because we've been through so much that I was like, I'm not sure I remember how this went. And you just described it. And I was like, oh yeah, that is how it happened. So, it's interesting. There's two things that happen here. And since we're in the Innerverse right now, I want to be able to say this is a woo-woo conversation. And thank you, Papa Ray. Papa Ray is in the house. I love you, man. That's so good to see you. Thank you for being here. Um, this is a point where friendship, when you're really truly friends with someone, that the healing is both ways. It's not, I mean, she shared what she got from me, and what I got from her was equally as powerful. Uh, thank you, Papa. And so, what happens when you have that kind of relationship where two mentors, because she's a professional mentor and I'm a professional mentor. So, when two mentors get in the room and you stand in allow with each other and really reveal and move back, those parts that can't be healed by I'm sorry to say this, the average person who hasn't accomplished the kinds of things that you've accomplished or I've accomplished, they can't be healed. But there was a point where I was talking about my two loves. My two loves are business, which I love, and spirituality, which I love. And it was interesting because Wendi is this voracious reader. So she read everything she could get her hands on me, every single book that she could get her hands on, because she has a few missing still, but she's read a big bulk of my work. And then she started asking questions just so gently, like, well, how come you're not teaching this anymore? This is so valuable. Well, how come you're not saying this anymore? Well, how come you're not doing this anymore? It's so innocent questions that call you out. Why are you leaving half of yourself on the table? Why? And I had to sit with that for a long time. The why I was leaving myself half out of the things that I love, that I'm really passionate about. And so as we went into deep calling it out, like I finally just opened up and said, okay, this is me. This is me, warts and all. And she was like, okay, well, that can't be there anymore, because hidden in that closet is like that. What's that Bible verse? Something about hiding your light under a bushel so nobody sees it. And then you've lost something kind of crucial or something like that. It's some Godspell or something. I can't remember. But that's what was happening. And I got called out. And the second I accepted that that's what actually I was doing, then suddenly this book started brewing. It wasn't really even me. It was so divinely guided to sit down and put this out. And during the whole time that I was there, she would ask a question, we would talk about a certain thing, and they became kind of chapters in that book. And I honestly would say that the divine literally called Wendi into my life to produce that book and for me to help Wendi out. And we still are doing that even today.
Yes.
Mhm.
It was so yeah, that I remember. Do you remember we had that conversation and we were talking about how do you separate business and spirituality? Like, where is the dividing line? And we're like, okay, well, what does it mean to you? And like in my effort I just so wanted to understand you. Like, what made you tick? Well, how did you think? And that's why I read all your stuff, because I'm like, well, this seems to me like the easiest way to get to know Vickie the fastest without seeming like a total crazy person.
It was
all of her work. And so I just started Googling and finding, and use one over here. Oh, this one over there. You're like, you'll never find this. It's out of print. And I was like, it's already here.
Yeah, I know. I can't even believe you found that one. Most people don't. And don't you dare say anything about where that is.
And we had that discussion, and you said to me, and I was like, well, I can't keep them together because the clients I have, like, I can't talk about woo-woo things because, they're Christians or they're this or they're that. And they're like, oh yeah, well, what about creativity? What about imagination? What about belief in things that aren't yet seen? And I'm like, you're right. Like, there is this like piece of like white magic that you have to like sprinkle over this to make this work, and have faith that it can come together, and like out of the realist, moralist, legalist and into the futurist believer, curious learner, and like that bridge. And like I never felt safe talking about that, because I was like, she's gonna think I'm weird. But then once we started talking about it, we were like, oh my gosh, we're like soul sisters from another place. And it was just, I was asking you because I just so wanted to understand, like, how do you do this? Where do you come from? What's the magic of Vickie? And how can I find out more?
Yeah, and it's the ditto for you. I mean, because there is complementary. It's very complementary. It's like when the divine is there, you are that piece of divine. By the way, I want to let you Facebook users know that I see your comments. We're putting them up there, especially because Vickie's so transparent and honest where they're writing. Thank you very much. Some of you out there, I see you. Go ahead and drop your lines in. We'll be talking about that. But what I want to say is, when there's divinity, you know how they say when the student is ready, the teacher shows up? Well, that teacher isn't necessarily a teacher. It's a resonating of a situation, a person, a thing, a project, or whatever it is. And when you resonate at there, everything in your life that comes to you is to support that particular resonance in that moment. And, it's interesting because from that day forward, the literal resonance that we share is what actually leads our relationship. That resonance of what's here now. And you made an introduction to Lindsay Mustaine for us. Yes. Another person that resonates in that same way. And we started the Innerverse. We started this group right here so that people who resonate with that, who resonate at that level, have a place to meet other people who resonate at that level. Because what I know is there's a lot of, I'm going to say, toxic groups per se. And so there's not, where did these people who resonate at this, I'm going to call it woo-woo level, where did they meet? So now we meet at this Innerverse place. But every time that you have a resonance with someone, every single time where it's deep, there's going to be three things that are available to you. There's the opportunity to transform, which I thank you for, because that has really helped me. The second thing that's going to be there is the opportunity to really reveal your heart, and really step into loving with someone and letting that love create what it's wanting to create. In this case, it was a book and some healing for us. And then the third thing is just to have a sense of camaraderie and closeness with people around you that matter. And thanks for jumping in, Andrew. Love your contributions to the book. Andrew Cap, I missed you. Oh, God, I'm so glad you're here. But those kinds of things pull these things together. And when we started the book, because I know Andrew Cap, he's, out there somewhere, everything that was for the book showed up. The people, the editors, Lana Makara, she came out of nowhere. And I knew right away that intuitive calling, she was the one to edit. She was the one to do this. You were the one to keep it all there. Like, You know, Wendi saw several versions of this book as we were writing it. So, I mean, she was like, you know, here's this or that. And if I could have expounded more, she said something. But then those things happen with every business I've ever done. Now, I have 18 businesses under my belt, really 19. 6 have failed, but 13 of them have been really super successful. And every single time that I listen to that little place in my heart that, oh, there's something here that has been successful. And this is why this has been successful as well as we, you know, embark on this. Yeah, she
So,
did. Thank you.
oh, Andrew Cap was here. Andrew
Yeah.
Cap, he
He
jumped
didn't
in.
even say he was here. You know,
Oh,
he jumped in, but he didn't say anything. So you guys tell us who you are, because see, right now, all it says is Facebook user. It doesn't say Cindy, Tommy, Andrew, Robin, or whoever it is. And you're right. Lana did an exceptional job. She just did an amazing job at editing. I'm so grateful for that. Yes.
thank you, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So,
So,
Vickie, I wanted to ask you, because joy is a 3-letter word that can mean so many different things
mhm.
to different people. And I wanted to hear from you because I know what the concept of the book is about. I understand the pathway in here to the transformation. I know how powerful it was when you walked me through this, what took us several months and weeks to get through fleshing out, but you've put it all in this book. What does the word joy mean to Vickie Helm?
This is such this is a really good question. So I know a lot of people sense joy as a feeling. I sense joy as a type of resonance. So the way I explain it is, if you have read Power versus Force by David
Mm.
Hawken, who you know I absolutely adore, he has a map of consciousness, and consciousness has a kind of lower self and higher self. And the dividing line between that is 199. So if you guys don't know what the map of consciousness, just go to Google and type Hawkins map of consciousness and it'll pop up. As you raise in consciousness, your resonance, your frequency, your vibe shifts. And joy is actually a frequency. And once you start, like gratitude is the first frequency where we begin to really shift. And once we have gratitude as a stable part of our life or system or whatever, when we get to the point where we start raising to the next level, next level, next level, joy has a lot of meaning and purpose when you vibrate at that level. It's the things that bring you joy, the relationships that bring you joy, the works that bring you joy. Joy is a frequency that is in your attractor field that has a lot to do with what is attracted in your life. So it isn't just it's a great feeling. I love joy. It's a great feeling, but it's a resonance that your consciousness is at. This is when you, for me, look at life and notice that it's happening for you, and you are in it to win it, or in it to learn from it, or in it to self-develop. Joy is kind of the acceptance of what is, kind of the Byron Katie, what is.
Mm.
And even if it's painful, we understand that there's a way through this. And that's what joy is for me. It is a key frequency, resonance, and state of consciousness.
I love that.
Mm,
Super.
thank you.
So, talking specifically about Innerverse and your ideas for creating that, I love that this community of you and I then
Mhm.
just keeps getting bigger and bigger. And like you talked about bringing Lindsay in, and you hadn't really met her yet. And I
Yeah.
messaged you and I said, to know her is to love her. And
That's
you were
right.
like, I gotta get to know her then. And you know, like calling these humans that we're looking for to join us in these conversations. Like I was telling you yesterday, like I want this to feel like a dinner party at my house
Yeah.
again. Like these are the people that I would just want to have these amazing conversations with. Like what could be, where are we now? What's possible? Like imagination, future, creativity,
Yeah.
all these things that could are so different than what reality sounds and feels like right now.
Yeah.
And how would someone know? Like I how will they know if this is where they should be? How will they know? What does it feel like? What is like for me, it felt itchy and uncomfortable where I was. And I was like, I gotta get out of here. Like
Mm.
this isn't right.
Yeah.
But I didn't know where to go. So what would that look like if I didn't have the opportunity to sit and talk privately with you? How would I know like this is where I belong? What am I looking for, listening for?
Beautiful. Beautiful. Because what you're describing there is divine discontent.
Mm,
And divine discontent is when you've outgrown something. So I don't know about you, but when I was little, I played with toys and dolls and things like that. And I remember the Barbies were everything. And so there was all kinds of dolls and everything else. But suddenly, without realizing it, I kind of grew out of playing with dolls. And it wasn't because I suddenly was like, I hate dolls or, whatever. And Halloween, I remember trick or treating. And I remember at 13, I was done. And there are things in your life that you outgrow. And when you outgrow something, it doesn't mean you automatically know where to go, but
mm.
it does mean that you're identifying that something in you has shifted, and that shift always needs support. The shift always needs support.
Oh,
And the
okay.
question is, where's your support system? Because most of the time, everybody continues to grow. We can outgrow careers, we can outgrow relationships, we can outgrow tastes of food. Like when you're a kid, maybe you thought SpaghettiOs was delicious, and now you're like, ugh. But it's like your taste buds, you outgrow everything. That's the whole point of spirituality. There's never not transformation, there's never not evolution. It's just that we don't often pay attention to the evolution that's happening. We don't use our awareness and even see that we're shifting or that we're outgrowing. And when we outgrow something, then it's like we set this down and we may not know where to look, which is why some people are voracious readers, because they're like, well, I don't know what's happening, but oh, that looks interesting. And then you're on to the next thing that grows you. But that's such a great question, that question that you just asked. And I think what happens is there are so many people feeling divine discontent because their entire world dissolved. That
Mm.
routine of getting on the freeway and going to that job and getting into that job and all that closure, all that lockdown, all that being separated. You can't go here and you can't go there and you can't go this. All of a sudden, you are sitting there and thinking, okay, this past is past. And who am I now? Like, I don't play with dolls. Who am I now?
Ah,
That's divine discontent. And
yeah,
we are living in the biggest divine discontent ever. And this is a meeting, a very empowering part of us.
it's so interesting that you frame it because I just had this thought, like, it's gotta be something like what people maybe were feeling like when they were going to a job every day and, like, that was their identity, right? And,
Yeah.
like, after they stayed home with their family for a year, maybe because there was, like they were
Yep.
locked in or working from home or whatever, and now they're like, "Well, I don't even care about that anymore, like, the office politics don't even
Yep.
matter. This job, why was I driving there and putting these miles on my car and burning the tires and staying late and all that?" Like, and they're wondering like, now what do I do? Who am I now? I got this taste of this like amazing newness and I just want to keep eating that apple. And how do
Yes.
I get there? And how do I like separate myself from the guilt of moving away from what was and stepping into this? And who's on the bus even? Like these are like questions like coming out of
Yeah, because everything shifts. Your friends shift, your relationship shift. You get this big shift.
oh, look at Ray says he experienced the same thing.
Yeah, I love this. I've outgrown so much and it can be overwhelming because I'm struggling to find people on this journey. This is why we
These
created
are
Innerverse.
people.
This is exactly why the Innerverse community is there, and every day it continues to grow. Thank you very much. I'm not sure who this is. Beautifully stated. Great analogy, Vickie. Thank you so much. But it's not an analogy. It is actually what happens in life. So many people ignore when they've outgrown something. Now, face it, some people will stay in a career that they have outgrown forever and ever and ever and ever just because it's familiar. And they are like, they don't have a sense or a hit of what they need to do next. So yes, we are, hey, I'm sorry, just, but you never outgrow coffee,
Robert.
Mr. Ambassador, that is so true. I will never outgrow coffee. But that's the whole freshness. And inside the secret joy of you, the tag that I'm looking for is how to awaken your spiritual gifts, your own inner genius, because that's how you maneuver yourself out of divine discontent.
Ah,
You take on a new creativity. Go ahead.
I love that. Yeah, and that's really what you helped me do. Now that I'm like looking at this from a different perspective and hearing your words, even though we talk all the time, like this is coming, like the questions are coming from a totally different frame of reference. It reminds me of a conversation I was having with a friend of mine like a year and a half ago. And he said, right now you're in the valley of focus and you're going to get everything you want there. And then you're going to want to move to the land of whatever you want. And for me, that is completely what started happening when you and I started talking and you and I started having these conversations. And you were like, Wendi, what do you want? And I was like, I don't know. Like, do I know? Like, I just keep doing all these things. She's like, well, why are you doing it? I don't know, because I feel like it's my responsibility. Like, it's my duty. It's my have to. And you just kept asking me, but why? But why? And like now coming at it from that perspective, it changes everything. Like I am making some major moves in my life that I wouldn't have even considered, but they feel so good. And like people think I'm losing my mind, going crazy. They're like, that's out of left field. I'm like, yeah, I've always wanted this, but I've never given myself permission to talk about it, do it,
Wow.
have other people that I felt like supported me and weren't judgmental or were pulling me back into what they thought I ought and should be doing. And it's been a game changer. So I really appreciate you creating this in this space. And I want to hear your perspective. Like, what is the impact you want this community and this book to have? What is your vision for what this piece of work brought to life is going to do in the material world?
That's a really great question. Um, I want to interrupt this for a second because
Okay.
Robert put something up and I just want to pop up there. So glad to see you both, Wendi, you and Wendi on. The two of you, I have so much energy in conversation. The idea of what joy is such a personal question to each different person. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I love this right here. The land of focus. I needed to hear that. Yeah.
Yeah, the
So
valley of focus.
yeah, and that I want to tell you something. I know that right now it's my turn to be interviewed, but I'm going to just put cards on the table right now. For me, Wendi, you are one of the most incredible women I've ever met. You are so smart, talented, loving, and kind. But here's the thing that I really like about you. It's that you're a natural. We talk about freedom seekers. There's a certain particular freedom seeker person. And freedom seekers are those people who are married to searching for the truth. That's just like a part of their DNA in their body. They're not avoiders. They're not manipulators. They're not narcissistic. These are people who came into this planet right now and they have a sense and a knowing inside them. They're like, something ain't right. What makes him act like that? What makes her act like that? Why are they doing that? Can't they feel that love? Isn't that there's questions, question after question after question. And that search to find a place where other people can sit down and ask the question, Not be judged, but ask the question with an open mind and actually explore. And I want to say the good, the bad, and the ugly. I mean, so right now I look like the, knight in shining armor. I got this brand new book out. I got this, great business going. I got 2 books going. I got really great business partners, friends, and my life feels good to me. But if you were in my house yesterday with all the technology issues and everything else, and my spouse, who is just absolutely the bomb. Thank you, Robin. I love you so much.
Robin.
I do too. So anyway, my spouse asked a question and the stress from my voice and everything else came out. And she looked at me like, you are possessed right now. And so what happens is, it's not that there are people who suddenly move past the ability to react. Everybody kind of reacts whenever they react, but I don't hang out in my reaction. And what happens now is that I can call myself out. It's not just that Wendi comes and can ask a question, but I can sit with Wendi's question. I can put my ego in my pocket and know right now that the divine sent Wendi to ask me that question. Otherwise, you wouldn't ask it, right? But can you be with that inquiry? Can you be with somebody else's inquiry of why? And so then when I realized the why of this, and I realized, oh my gosh, I've been in the closet. Man, I thought I was out of the closet since, way back when. So right now I'm like, okay, so the point of the Innerverse community is a container where you can investigate, support, love, open up to maybe learning things that you haven't learned before. Like, I got to tell you, Don Mamoni, I don't know if he's listening or not, but he is a superhero right now. He is stepping and doing something in the world that is completely judged all the time. People just judge. And instead, he's taken the hits of other people judging, which never feels good, never. And he is actually educating in spite of what's being thrown at him. He's kindly, lovingly opening people's minds about how they view men, how they view women, how they view sexuality, how they view everything. That is the point of having Innerverse, is to be able to come into this place. And we're going to start having woo-woo Wednesdays where we're going to have these conversations. Sometimes you'll get me hosting the show. Sometimes you'll get her hosting the show. And we're going to be talking to people and finding out and learning and growing. The secret joy of you is you being willing to show up with you as you to benefit others, to benefit the world. And that's what this group is about, is what the container is about. The book is about how to tap into that piece of you and discover the difference between the soul of you and the personality of you, and how that divinity in you can bring you just a magic life. I hope I answered that all.
And that's the impact you wanted to have on the world. That's pretty profound. And it could seem so slight and so simple, but people never, I never go a day that someone doesn't surprise me, like that untapped potential, or they reveal some side of them that comes to the table and you're like, where did you come from? That's so cool. Like, how come I've never seen that about you before? Like,
yes.
And you're like, wow, like that is so profound for you and I. It was the healing stuff. Like, I was like, Vickie, why do you never talk about that? Like, I didn't want to hire you for business stuff. Like, I've had it up to here with business stuff right now. There's a part of me that is broken and I need to fill this hole.
And that, I want to talk about that for a second, because that's important what she just said. Wendi is uber successful. Not I'm successful, or she's uber successful. And she's so shy about telling you how uber successful she is. And when it's her turn, I'm going to brag on her big time. She's uber successful. She has everything and then some. And that at that point, what she recognized was this didn't make me happy. And
No.
she went looking for what's going to make her happy. And that's the whole thing. If you're thinking somehow that when you get there, man, I'm going to have it all and I'm going to be happy, that's not necessarily true. That's not necessarily true. There's that inner piece of you. If it's not connected to you, you won't be happy.
Yeah, and at the same token, when all this was unfolding, I met someone who had absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
And he used to sing opera, and he started singing for us, and I was like, "Oh my God." And like he turned into this completely different human. The way he stood, the way he spoke, his facial expressions, his body, it was like he just became this completely different human. And I was like, why have I never seen this? This is so incredible. And he was like, well, my mama told me I talk too much. And I was like, oh,
Wow.
like, whoa. Like you turned all of that off for that. And yeah, and for me, like you say, uberly successful, but I know that the more I learn and the more I know, the more I realize I don't know, and the more I realize how infinitely small I am in the grand scheme of things. So it doesn't really matter. It's like more of it is just to me anyway, is what potential is there? What's going unused? What's available? How could this be channeled differently? Is this the missing link of what's preventing the world from being the place that we're hoping it could be? Is this like,
Yes.
if nobody can find the answer, what if it is that needle in the haystack? What if it is that hidden messiah? Not messiah, that's the wrong word, but what is that gift? Maybe it's something that we all have within us that we're just not tapping into. It's our own personal authority. It's something that somebody said something that snuffed it out. Where did it go? Why is it not here? We're all discontent. What is it? Where is it? Why can't we find it?
Can I let the cat out of the bag while we're here about the second book? You know?
Okay.
Oh, good.
Okay, we were gonna go there, but I can't.
It's got to be. I want you to know that The Secret Joy of You is the first in the series of books. So yeah, it is in that series. I am if you are.
Okay. All right.
All right. So we have the second book that is in the queue being made right now, and it's called The Secret Joy of Two, which is the collaboration between Wendi and I moving. Yes, we are. You go. That's right. We are. They're ready for this. Yes, we are. Thank you. Look at this. Oh my God. I can hear Vickie's wheels turning. I hear another book in the making. You're right. We actually do have that. It's true. But there's a book called The Innerverse, which is coming out, and The Secret Joy of Two, which is the next in the series of this book. The reason is important is because it's just what Wendi just said. And I want to repeat it because it's so important what she just said. The concept of yourself is what your life is built around. How you're the concept you have of who you are. But here's the thing. You don't have your concept of you. That's why The Secret Joy of You is that book, because the concept of you was built by authority figures and teachers and rules and everything else. So when you get to this point where you are wondering who you are whatever you say you are. You are whatever concept of you hold of yourself. If you read The Secret Joy of You, you will find that there is this ability to mold yourself. You're malleable. You're unconditional. You're not, hi, I'm an angry person and that's what I am. Okay, if you say so. Whatever concept you hold of yourself, your imagination will grow or shrink based on that one thing. Your image of who you are will either grow or shrink based on the concept you hold of yourself. And that's such a powerful thing you just said, Wendi. And that's the whole point of being in the Innerverse. How does your Innerverse work? Everybody knows how everything works out here. How does it work in here? Do you know that every single person, regardless, every single person has a control center inside them, a literal control center that's divine. And that control center, if you don't know how to use it, your body and your personality is the rocket. Okay, so the rocket goes to Earth and it goes up in orbit and whatever else. The control center in you, that concept you hold of yourself, that soul part of you, that soul being, believe it or not, created the concept of who Wendi Schenkel is in this lifetime based on what Wendi Schenkel needed to learn. And how that the whole, what if you created the concept of you and you did it divinely and you did it perfectly and you did it empoweringly? Then when you get here, you learn somebody else's concept of you, which pulls you out of your center of actually who you were with all your gifts, all your joy, all your happiness, and tries to remold Wendi into something that Wendi wasn't in the first place. And now you spend your life untangling Wendi so that you can find the perfection that your control center had already designed for you. What if that is there? What if you're more powerful than you think? What if you're more gifted than you know? What if you're more awake and aware than you could even possibly imagine, but you're living somebody else's concept of you? What if that's the truth? And what if you pull that off and uncover the secret joy of you? Who would you be and how unlimited would you be? Know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't even have words to wrap around it right now because I'm just thinking it through and thinking it through, and it's incredible what you just said, and I can see where those shifts came for me because there were some things, that you had challenged me on. And you had said, well, what if you do it differently? What if you just decide? And I would say, but Vickie, I don't know. And you would say, well, just try it out. And it was, oh, well, it's really that simple. And it kind of got to this point that I was like, well, if I can imagine it, I can create it. And all I have to do is have a line in the sand moment.
That's right.
Reestablish the boundaries.
Go on, girl.
Communicate the new rules of what they're going to be. And then decide that you're either going to play my life game the way I want the rules to go, because this is what helps me sleep at night. And this is where I get joy.
You go, girl.
Or
you're going to be gone. That's right.
And it wasn't in a harsh way because I gave the other person the opportunity to decide. Now, of course, there's some circumstances that are out of my control, but now I look at those and say, okay, what's the lesson in this? Okay, this crappy thing that just happened that could completely derail me. What can I learn about this, and why was it put here? This is really nasty. So what was I avoiding that now I had to have this nasty thing thrown in my face?
Or what concept of yourself did you believe that threw that nasty thing in your face? Robert, yes, there's ebook only today. The paperback's going up. It'll be there in a couple of days, but the ebook is really great. And it's as great as the paperback. Just saying.
Thank you.
Let's see. We loaded the paperback, but it won't be available for 3 days. And then it will be available for on paperback as well. Yeah. So I want to go back to the conversation and say, I think that's some of the most important ways we can look at it. Most people don't understand how the control center works, and they're all about the attractor field. Well, guess what? The attractor field is one part of your control center. It's not the whole control center. And when you understand the control center, I was talking to Wendi the other day, and this is how I feel about how people are. And I was talking about a friend of mine who I remember when she got her first BMW. Now, in Colorado, that's a rite of passage. You get your first Benz or your first BMW or your first Lexus. It's like you suddenly are climbing up in your success ladder back in the day. So she had this really beautiful BMW, and it was red and it was so sexy. And I was like, wow, I'm so happy for you. So I got on the passenger side and she got on the driver's side, and we're looking, and it looks like an instrument panel out of an airplane. And I was so enamored with it. I was like, what does this button do? And she's like, I don't know. And I was like, okay, what does this do? I don't know. And I realized there were so many things in there that she didn't know how to operate. And she hadn't read the manual yet because she had just gotten it off the lot, drove it home, and she didn't know how everything worked. And that's the human experience. The human experience is you have this Rolls Royce and it's all got these gadget cool buttons inside that make things happen, or cruise controls or whatever else. But if you don't know how to push that right button so that thing happens, then all you have is this big fancy car that you just know to here's the gas and here's the brake and here's the driving gas and brake. And you don't get to use everything else. Those things bring quality of life and manifestation and joy and happiness and insight and discernment. And I want to let everyone else know one other thing. Inside every person, and I'm getting woo-woo right now. I'm going to go right into the woo-woo. Inside every person, there is something called the inner master, the inner master. And when you're ready to meet the master, you have to open up to that. Who is the inner master? How do they operate? Okay, you only listen to the inner master when it's an emergency. Like if it's heeding a warning, stay away from that man. He's predacious. Get out of there. Then suddenly you're like, oh my God, I got to get out of here. This isn't safe. We listen to it in an emergency. Is my baby safe? That inner master was made to guide you to every success along the path. When you're little and you go to school, they teach you to ignore your inner master, and they teach you how to become slave to the outer master, which is your mind, which is thinking. And suddenly we think and think and think and think, and we don't take a moment to meet the inner master. And the inner master isn't your heart and how you feel. Your heart gives you emotions, and that's great. You feel happy, you feel angry, you feel this. That's what your heart does. Your mind thinks, should we cross the street right now? Let me evaluate and look and see if it's safe. And then there's something else of you, that soul of you, where that inner master is. And it talks to you. It loves you. It is the piece of you that will bring you peace when you stop struggling to use your mind and just listen. In the book, Secret Joy of You, I use this line over and over again. The heart has no questions and your mind has no answers. And that's when you're living as and from your inner master. But you'll have to read the book to find that out.
Love that. So where does one get the book? Can we talk about that? Like specifically, I'm sure there's links or something that maybe Robin or someone's helping drop. But if someone wants to get the book,
Amazon.
where can they find it?
Amazon. Robin, can you put the Amazon link inside the thread there so that we have the Amazon link so people can find it and buy it? I love the I am part. Thank you very much. That is thank you. We loaded the paperback. Okay, great. So now we're there. Thank you for that. These are really great questions, Wendi. I'm like, you're masterful at this. She always has been. This isn't the first time thank you. Here it is. Secret Joy of You. There it is on Amazon. And here it is again. Robert did it, and then Robin did it. Thank you guys appreciate you guys doing that. Yeah, please go get your copy of the book and, be part of the conversation in Innerverse. This is, a place to have these conversations that we're having.
Yeah, that's so I love this. And I'm hoping, like, just out of my own curiosity and my wanting to just understand people and how they work, and I'm hoping people will talk about, someone mentioned, I think it maybe was Ray, about how everyone's definition of joy looks different and everybody's path is different. The more of these conversations that we can have and hear, we can recognize these things happening in all of us. And then it just seems like it's helping us all come out of the closet, because what seems insignificant, like that conversation that I had with a friend of mine a year and a half ago, I didn't even realize what he was talking about until we just sat here just now. And I reflected back to that and I was like, oh, right, that's where that showed up. And maybe if we can all just start having these conversations in a safe space and even if it seems insignificant, if it's something that maybe makes your hair stand up, or you're like, oh, that felt playful, or
Yeah.
wow, I'm more curious about that. I wonder if anybody else has experienced this. Like, even if it seems silly at the time, what if that is that one clue that someone else needs to hear, or I need to hear, or Vickie can learn something more, or
Hmm.
it's so interesting. And that's too why I'm so excited about The Secret Joy of Two, because I don't think these things there would have been no catalyst for this, or me to have a space to like get it out of me, because I just didn't understand it. And so just being able to talk about it made it real. And once I could accept it, then I could stack upon it,
Yeah.
because I was like, oh, I don't have to dismiss that thought. It's a yes and, not a no stop.
Yeah.
And Vickie, thank you so much for doing this. Thank you for being my friend. Thank you for having me here. Thank you for creating this book, this community. This is so amazing. I love you for all of this. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
It's so interesting because none of it would be here if you didn't show up. And so now when we talk about cross mentoring, I mean, that's a very personal relationship with people where you're cross mentoring. It means that there has to be some really strong ground rules in it. And that
Oh,
one of them that is there for us is we show up. I mean, when we have conversations, we show up where we're at, how we're at, and there's never any withholding. There's not any kind of manipulating or lying. There's nothing like that. We have a super healthy connection. And inside that connection, when this developed, I remember, I remember feeling it and saying, when do you think there's something to do here? And you were like, yeah, I know what it was. And I remember in the beginning, I was so, God, that feeling was there. And I kept trying to picture, how about this? How about this? And she'd be like, nah, no. I mean, if you absolutely want me to do this, I'll do it, but I'm not feeling it. And I was like, in that moment, I realized that I was so excited. I was trying to force it out of me. And Wendi was really discerning in that moment. I know you feel it, but let's just let it be here. And then I realized, when it's time to show up, it will show up. It's kind of like, when you're birthing a baby and a woman's in labor, you can't just say, come on, push, let's get it over with. I want to go bowling. It takes however long it takes. And this is why the Innerverse container is so, so important, because I know right now, I don't care who you are. Right now, it's me and Wendi. We're talking to you. There's something brewing in you. There's a feeling inside you where you're hoping to birth something, where you're hoping that people understand you differently or bring things out into the world that can benefit humanity or make a difference in somebody's life or to have an impact in some way. And there is part of you that can be just like me or just like Wendi, which is, I'm a little nervous about bringing this out into the world. And, Wendi's like, it's okay, Vickie. I want you to know that I got you and they got you and we got you, and just do it. And that's for everybody. Everybody out here, there's some transition you are going through right now where you are transforming into this new thought leader or this new spiritual being that has a place now you can go to be with other people who are open to listening to you. And one of the greatest joys in my life was the day that we decided that this should not be a mentor mentee relationship. When we decided, no, this girlfriend, let's just be girlfriends, because it benefited me to the most. It really has changed my world. And I absolutely adore you. I love you to death. And for me, we have so many great things coming on. Thank you very much for this. This book is truly life-changing. And Robert says, let's see what here. Just wanted to say, between the two of you, your books have really helped and inspired me. That's true. I carry,
thank
here
you.
it is. There it is. Here's the
Oh,
magic
look
one,
at it.
That's right. I go nowhere without it. I want to
Hey,
let you know it's like that author there. Thank you for that. That's a really great book. I'm sorry. If you guys haven't read The Purse Strings Effect, you need to go read this because you're right. It does change your mindset. It changes your values. It opens you up in a way to an insight at looking inside the feminine mind. And yeah, I really like your book. Let's see. And you help the message be clearer. Thank you for your contributions, Lana. Is she on? Lana, are you there? I hope she's there, Lana, because you did make it clear. Because
and she
I
made it
can say
beautiful.
she made it beautiful. I'm telling you,
Beautiful.
editors are awesome that way. If you
Yeah.
guys don't, Lana is like she's the queen of the spiritual editing. I love her work. Love it, love it, love it. Lana, if you're here, mwah, thank you, sister.
Yeah. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's why we're here at the Innerverse. I want to talk about Woo Woo Wednesday before we close out. Is that okay? I got the purse book because she was an. Let's see, I got the purse book because she was on Vickie's show, and that's how I met Wendi. Yep, yeah, we
Thank
do
you,
talk
Robert.
about that. Yeah, so Woo Woo Wednesdays. We've talked to everybody in Innerverse, and we have told them that they're going to be here. Now, here's the thing. Woo Woo Wednesdays, I want to allow Wendi and I to work together. If she really wants to interview this person, I want to let her interview it. Now, if I got to interview this person, I want to let me interview. But sometimes Wendy's going to be doing the interview, and then sometimes I'm going to be doing the interview. Woo Woo Wednesday, hot chocolate only, laugh out loud. For some people, yes, but for others, no way. But Woo Woo Wednesdays are going to start happening October 6th. Now, a bunch of you have already asked to be on it. I want to start with Woo Woo Wednesday, and Lindsay doesn't even know I want her to start, but I want to
Lindsay's
start
great.
Lindsay because she's the one who helped me name Woo Woo Wednesday.
Nice.
And she was on the coffee break show just recently, and we were like talking about woo woo. And I was like, yes, it's not because we have Welcome Wednesdays. And I was like, Welcome Wednesday. And I said, no, not today. Today's Woo Woo Wednesday. And I was like, snap, that was it. And she was like, Woo Woo Wednesday. Yes. So there's so many out there. We're making a list of people. And I'm going to run it by Wendi and go, Wendi, which people do you want to interview, etc. We will be getting a hold of you. We don't even have our branding for the shows done, but we're going to have fun with that. And I want to let you know, Woo Woo Wednesday is about you sharing your woo-woo-ness, your inner spirit, your soul, and etc. with us as we, as we grow this community. Now, there's one last thing I want to add. I know you are woo-woo, and that means I know you know that we know that they know that you know other woo-woo people. Your job is to invite your woo-woo people into this group, into the Innerverse, so that we can have oh my God, Lindsay was on Woo Woo Wednesday. Yeah, that's right. Woohoo! I haven't even asked her yet, you guys. So, let me get through this one, okay? But then, from those conversations, we will build a community that has an energy and a frequency of openness. And I think that will begin to change the world. Yeah, that's right. Woo woo mania. Thank you.
Or maybe
Yeah.
people don't even know that they're on the path yet, but they just are having like these curious things
Yeah.
and like because like we talked about there, I don't think there really is a right or wrong. And when like maybe people get into communities where there's like self-righteousness or people are saying you can't do that or that's taboo or like you could fall prey to that kind of
It's
you know
true.
block, if you will.
Mhm.
And um maybe you'll come and you'll have the conversation and you'll be like, yeah, no, these are crazy people. I don't want to be here. But the people that stay, it's going to be a party.
That's right. Hey, I want to tell you guys something. Listen, if you're on Pandora, if you're listening on iHeartRadio, Amazon TV, Roku TV, wherever you're at, You can go to the show notes today. Underneath, there is going to be a link that is for Innerverse, for Facebook /groups/Innerverse. So if you're not part of the group yet, you just click on that little link. It'll take you right over there and you invite yourself and just be in there. He's on a roll today. He's a woo-woo. She's a woo-woo. They're a woo-woo. Don't you want to be a woo-woo too? And if you do, if you do, here it is. Facebook groups, Innerverse. Come join us there for the conversation. Please go out and buy your copy of The Secret Joy of You, because I have 2 dogs to feed. Not 1, but 2 dogs to feed. The little dog doesn't eat as much, but the big dog really likes a big meal. And so, when you buy a book, you feed a dog. And thank you for that. That really, Wendi, what can I say? You have been such a gift, like such an amazing gift in my life. And your adminning this group with me means a lot to me. But you unearthing me meant a lot to me. And I'm so thankful. And I wish that everyone knows that the reason the book is dedicated to you is because that's why the book is here. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Vickie. Thank you for allowing me. I want to take my magic dust and sprinkle it on everyone. And this has definitely been a relationship that I think has been equally beneficial to both of us. My therapy sessions with Vickie have been amazing. And I'm so excited and honored to be a part of this with you. And thank you for creating this, because if I could do it with you, I would do it with everyone who I would ever touch. I just love seeing people come into the things that they love, and thank you for allowing it.
Yeah, thank you. And y'all, thank you for being on our very first live with us. This was really special, and I just feel really grateful, and I have a lot of gratitude for that. And God, we're getting up to the top of the hour. So your job right now is to go to Amazon, support a dog by getting your copy of The Secret Joy of You. Those of you who have the review copies, now if you could go over to Amazon and leave. I'm not even going to tell you whether 3, 4, 5 stars. You leave what you want to. I want honest reviews up there. Please put your review up there. Please also share your review. Unless you're like, man, this book is a cow stinker, then, don't put that there. But put your review inside the Innerverse and let people know what you thought of the book. I know that Brent sent me a private message. Brett, thank you so much, Brett Jed. And I'm glad that you're enjoying it and love it. Yeah, that's what I have to say about that. We should probably close this out.
Thank you, Vickie. Everyone, I'll see you. I'm going to do my review next. So I'll be watching for all yours too. Have a great
All right, you guys. Peace out. We'll talk to you later. Mwah. Thank you, Wendi.